Okay, welcome to this new episode. So basically, what are we trying to do in this new episode? We are just trying to see how to consume XML payload. So basically, we are going to use the same data, but we are just trying to convert it to XML. So, but because XML is a little bit unique, you need to actually have there's like a parent node, a root node, and afterwards you can actually drill down into the individual items. So basically, on every XML, you start it with this line. You start it with this line. Yes. So basically, it's just defining the version of the XML and the encoding type. But I just copy and paste it because I have it across different files and different projects. So it's simple. Any project you do, just anytime you're defining your XML structure, just use this. It's best practice. So basically, what do we want to do? So we are sending new transactions. I get in it. So we are trying to define how the structure of a data would be. So basically, for new transactions, is a new transaction, which in XML it has a start and it has an end. So I do an end with this. So basically, it means this every new transaction is enclosed within this little this block of code. So in between here, the first thing we are going to have customer name. We are going to have address, similar amount from and to states, which is similar to what we have done in the JSON. Basically, I'm just trying to do the same thing, but I'm just changing the variables. I mean the values. So for customer name, we have a starting block and an ending block. Customer name. So this customer, what name do we give this customer? Should we still use the to slant? No. Let us use a very common fictional name. And the ending block for customer name we just do this similar thing, but just end it with a slash. So basically that's the block. So the next thing is the address. Similar address. What is this address going to be? Let's see, it's going to be 78 Palm Grove. So there's a Palm Grove lane. Yeah, and that ends the block. So it's important that the starting block and the ending block they match. If not, it doesn't. You have a problem when you try to execute this. So basically, I'm going later on. I'm just going to show you how to validate your XML because there are actually a couple of online tools to validate your XML. I do that after each one. I try to do an XML validation just to be sure that I don't have any errors in my block of code, because assuming you create over like a field with over 30 parameters, you're definitely most likely you'll actually make a mistake. So we just try to avoid that using validations, which are free tools. So basically this for this service we charged $13. We just have this again. We have from states. And now we are sending from Texas. From and the last field is the two states. We are sending to Delaware. So these are actually places in the USA, quite popular states in the USA, which that's why I just use them. But you can actually during your training you can actually adapt them to your country need, and if there are any challenges, just feel free. We'll look at it together and be able to put heads together. We have like a huge community that will be able to answer questions. So basically, I'm done with my definition of the structure. So basically, um, from time to time, what I just try to do is I just search for XML Validator. So you can see it. There's a formatter, XML formatter. It's just to make everything look pretty. XML Validator to see if there are errors. So I just do this, code beautify, and I can just copy and paste this and validate XML. So basically it tells me, like, it shows me next transaction. So basically you can see there's an error in my code. I started with new and I'm closing with net. This shows there's an error, so I correct this error. It shows me it's perfect. That's great. So I don't have any error. So you can use this codebeautify.org/xml validator. It's free. You don't need to pay anything. So assuming you make a mistake like this, it shows you there's an error because what is the error? The end tag name doesn't match, amount doesn't match. So it shows you that there's a problem. So we have seen how to be able to validate our XML. So that's the tips and tricks we'll be covering throughout the course. So I'm just going to copy this correct version and actually replace here. So let's go right away into building a new um still in the same project, just moving a little bit faster, a new configuration file. So basically what was the previous one? We want to be able to do send XML. So we have a listener and we're going to have a logger. So listener, what are we trying to do? We are trying to use the same HTTP incoming we defined in the previous episode. So basically the path name is still going to be, the base path is still going to be this. But now instead of send JSON, we want to just use the sub part to be send XML. So basically what are we just doing here? It's just copying send XML and replacing it in the path down here. And basically our listener is all set up. So what do we want to see in the logger? We just want to see we want to see similar message. Information received for customer, and we use the tag, the hash symbol. We go to our payload now, but this becomes a little bit tricky if you can remember. Now in this is called a root transaction. So basically what is happening here is each individual transaction is called inside what you call a new transaction block. So basically what we want to do is we want to open the payload. From the payload we want to be able to access new transaction, and from the new transaction we want to be able to access customer name. So this is just a little bit difference between JSON and XML. So basically what am I going to be doing here is I'll copy this dot, it's a new transaction, and that's the customer name. So basically it shows you how to be able to read XML, because it's quite interesting, because the formats might change. Sometimes they might not be new transactions, it might be roots, it might be in the roots, but most scenarios I try, because the aim of this tutorial is to try and come as close to reality. Most times they come in with or an already set name. XML, they come with an already set name. So just to make things a little bit more interesting, I'm just going to take this further, and I'm just going to do paid. He wants him to pay a particular amount, so we just do paid. How much did he pay? So we're just using the new transactions again. Transaction dot amount. So we just verify there's no error in our spelling, transaction and amount. So I think this is pretty good. So we just save this. Object is already running. We don't need to redeploy it. All you just do is come here to the console, and here we create a new we set things up right. I'm just going to copy this. It's a post call again. Or I made a similar error again. Whenever I create my listener, I always forget to convert to make it a post. Yeah. So always come to advance and put a post here. So little things like this, even over the years after acquiring the experience, you can make mistakes. So just resave it and console. And yeah, yeah. So now I'm using and sending an XML. If you, the reason why we are using this, changing it to the XML, because that's the name of the listener. This is the issue. We call the part send XML. Our base part is we post. So don't get confused. The base part is remains we post, but the interesting part for us is we, where we said sorry my friend, yes, send XML. So now let's move on. We send this as send XML. So in the body, we are now, to avoid errors, I'm sending it as an XML. So what am I just doing? I'm going to copy this, yeah, and if my application is up and running, let's say everything seems okay, I'm going to send. Okay, let's see if we have any errors. So basically, you see information received for customer Google paid 13. Later on, you can add dollars to the end. So basically, this is how to actually receive XML payload, how to work with XML payload. Later on, we can actually the next step will be seeing how to insert this into the database. So one I think it's important to actually look at the extension courses on how to set up your database, because we are using a real database, in the we have that is currently running on Amazon RDS. So actually, you make use of that. We made use of that. So it's a very close real scenario. So thanks for this episode.